the Prime Minister's in WA. He's announced a $500 million plan for mapping resources around the nation. It's part of their Future Made in Australia idea. He argues that's about restoring the faith with blue-collar workers. Do you accept that the broader vision is one that will be welcomed by many, and many in regional Australia as well?
I have to ask, why is the federal Labor government funding work that the states should be doing, and indeed some states have? Just yesterday, New South Wales released the largest open source survey data in the state's history because they have mapped where their critical minerals are. This is the job that state governments should be doing, Western Australian government should be doing, and indeed I would be highly surprised if the Western Australian government didn't already know where their critical minerals resources are actually located. So why are the federal government duplicating and spending money on something the states can spend money on when we can then turn our attention as a federal government to providing investment incentives for private enterprise to actually value add to those critical resources?
On the budget itself, only a few days out from Jim Chalmers' next budget, it's a huge balance right now. We've been talking about it for days, weeks in fact. The inflationary question was reiterated yesterday by Governor of the RBA, Governor Bullock. This is going to be the challenge because he wants to show to Australians that he can support and will support them on cost of living, but without fueling inflation, which remains sticky.
And that's exactly right. The first and the best way to address the cost of living is to address inflation. And that's not what we've seen from this government. In the last two budgets, all we've seen is moves that actually exacerbate inflation. We know that it is now homegrown inflation that we are suffering through here in Australia. It's not being repeated around the world. And unfortunately, what I expect to see out of this government next week in the budget is probably a big spending pre-election budget, which is certainly not fit for the times we are currently in. What we actually need to see from the government is restraint. We need to see restraint. We need to see moves that will actually reduce the inflationary pressures. We need to reduce red tape. We need to incentivise private enterprise because that's the way to get out of the situation we're currently in. It shouldn't be through government spending, it should be through private enterprise spending, but private enterprise is not spending at the moment because they've got
any specific
a lot
ideas?
Of pressures, including red tape and IR. We need to address the IR scenario that the government has implemented. We need to address IR, we need to cut red tape, and we need to provide production incentives rather than spending government money on more bureaucrats and more government programs.